All right, joining us now, the chairman of the House Oversight Committee, James Comer. Congressman, good to see you. You just heard Grady's report. I know that you want to do a full review of FEMA. Talk about where you want to shine your flashlight in particular when it comes to things like staffing shortfalls, funding, et cetera.
Well, I haven't found a government agency yet in Washington, D.C. that whenever they're faced with a crisis, they don't say they need more money and more employees. But at the end of the day, we haven't heard from FEMA prior to this hurricane season with respect to raising concerns about staff shortages or whatever. I've dealt with FEMA in my district. We had a tornado outbreak a few years ago in Western Kentucky. And, FEMA is like any government agency. They're not known for their speed or efficiency. But at the end of the day, I think that we need to have FEMA in front of the Oversight Committee because we hear reports that they're out of money. That came from Joe Biden. Even though the mainstream media is saying the Republicans are spreading misinformation, Joe Biden was the first person to say that FEMA didn't have enough money and he was going to have to call Congress back. Now we know that they do have enough money for the last hurricane, but I don't think any member of Congress can tell you specifically where the majority of the money FEMA goes, other than it goes for disaster relief. We need specifics, and I don't think any government agency in the Biden-Harris era has been very specific or very transparent with where they spend their funds. And that's what we need in government is transparency. And at that point, if Congress sees that there needs to be a significant increase in funding or a significant increase in staffing, I'm confident Congress would step forward. But right now, with this lack of transparency by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, there's just a lot of questions Congress has, and that's what we want to answer in a committee hearing.
Congressman, just moments ago, President Biden used his moment at the podium at the White House to bash President Trump. Watch this.
Over the last few weeks, there's been a reckless and irresponsible and relentless promotion of disinformation and outright lies about what's going on. It's undermining confidence in the people of Florida. Quite frankly, these lies are un-American, and there is simply no place for them. Not now, not ever. Former President Trump has led this onslaught of lies. Assertions have been made that property is being confiscated. It's simply not true. They're saying people impacted by these storms will receive $750 in cash and no more. That is simply not true either. They're saying the money needed for these crises are being diverted to migrants. What the heck are they talking about? Stop it. It's outrageous. It's just not true.
President Trump never said that people's property was being confiscated, number one, but bigger picture, and I could digress, because FEMA has spent over $1 billion on illegal migrants. However, their focus, that's the second time that he has talked about disinformation and lies today. Why the focus on this rather than helping people, which they did not do in North Carolina? That nobody showed up from the government for the most part, regardless of what the FEMA head says. It was private citizens and civilians helping people in Western North Carolina for a week, Congressman.
That's exactly right. And remember, Joe Biden, as I said earlier, he was the one that started this disinformation campaign saying that FEMA didn't have enough money. We now know that they did have enough money for the last storm that went through. So Joe Biden isn't the best person in the world to talk about being dishonest. He certainly doesn't have the moral authority to call anyone dishonest. But at the end of the day, Joe Biden has not been transparent. We don't have confidence that Joe Biden is, in fact, the person making a lot of decisions. You look at this storm now that's fixing to hit Florida. We know Ron DeSantis is been prepared. We know he said that he's got the military on standby, the National Guard. We didn't see that with the last hurricane. So we have a lot of questions about FEMA and their preparedness, and especially where they spend their money. So I think that we all hope for the best. We hope that FEMA can work with the local authorities and things like that. But I think what we're going to find when we have this hearing with FEMA is a lot of stuff that we found with the Secret Service. There's just no communication between the federal bureaucracy and the local and state officials. And when you have a crisis, it takes everyone working together. And this is just a lack of leadership over the past 4 years by the Biden-Harris administration, letting these government bureaucrats run free and run wild and spend. And you know, when they say, well, the money for the hurricanes wasn't the same money that went for the illegals, it's our money. It's our money, and they've never been transparent with where they're spending the money. So I hope that when we reconvene in November, we can get some answers from FEMA and fix the problems in the future for the next administration.
Congressman James Comer, thanks for being with us today. Good to see you.
Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thank you.